Hey guys, welcome to the Essence of Iris. This is Iris. I have a question, a lot of questions. What matters most now that you're over 50 in the dating scene? What does that look like for you? Is it much different than it used to be in your 20s and 30s? First of all, let me apologize in advance for that chirping in the background. I tried several times to change out the battery and it's not working. I've done it before, it's just not working today. So I'll troubleshoot that later. But right now, I just want to let you know you will hear the little chirping in the background. I hope you can get past that and kind of get engaged with what the conversation is about. And I also have my cheat sheet, not because I'm scripting this conversation, but because it can be lengthy and I don't want the video to be too long. So I'm making sure that I touch the points that are important. So, as I had mentioned, what matters now? What matters most that you're over 50? Is the dating scene as different for you as it is for me? I don't have a story about that. I'm asking because I don't know. I don't know what works today. The dynamics of relationship has changed so much since I initially was in on the dating scene when I was in my 20s and 30s, and I didn't date that much. I was always more settled, so I didn't really care for the dating just back to back to back. It was confusing for me. So I'm going to ask a couple questions, and if you don't mind responding some of your dating relationships in the comments later on at the end, I would appreciate it as we build this community. Like I mentioned before, building this community is more than one dimensional. It's everything that we experience in different phases and seasons of our lives. And dating is one. There are dating apps that I've never used before, but some people have. And they can have horror stories or they can have success stories. So I want to know if you've approached dating from that perspective, what are some of the do's and don'ts that you would recommend? And because I've never done that before. And there are some things that you would consider, at least I would consider now in my 60s plus, that I didn't consider when I was in my 30s. First of all, my children are all adults now, so they're not a consideration, even though they are concerned with anybody that I choose to have a relationship with. But there are so many different things, attributes, concerns, deal breakers that I have now that wasn't a concern when I was younger. For instance, the baggage, emotional baggage. You guys know I have a lot of past experiences that were pretty traumatic. How would that interfere, or what would that look like in a healthy relationship with someone that's mature? We all have some type of baggage, but if you do the work, the baggage can be a benefit and a blessing and not a burden. What about someone, will you consider dating someone who has health issues? That's something to think about. What about boundaries? What about emotional intelligence? Are they connected or are they just there? Some people are not emotionally intelligent or emotionally mature. Some people do have a lot of deep-seated baggage that they don't realize that it's like this. Say, for instance, if you are grieving because you lost a loved one and they are insensitive because they feel uncomfortable, so they do nothing. They leave because they don't know what to do. It's okay if that's the case, but if they recognize that and apologize so we can build in that area together, that will be an opportunity for emotional intelligence to be developed. So I'm not saying that if everything is not exactly the way you want it in a relationship, in a mature relationship, that's a one and done. I'm not saying that. Oh, I forgot to tell you this. I'm not by any means an expert or professional in relationships. Just so you know. I'm just conversing and asking questions that I think are very popular in this season for seasoned adults that may be interested in dating, in the dating scene. My thoughts about dating, I think dating or being in a long term relationship or partnership with someone that you have learned to know and grown to know and love, I think that's beautiful. I think relationships are beautiful. I think that they are needed to have a good balance. But I also know that a lot of people have decided to check out. As we age, a lot of us don't like to tolerate some things that we thought should have been taken care of as we were maturing and out in the world and growing and doing whatever else to cause us to be where we are today. There are some things that we just don't want to tolerate. Like for me, a biggie, a deal breaker is being in a relationship with me and it's not monogamous. You still want to be dating other people in the background. It's like, I don't have time for that. It's like, today I want to build. I want to get to know that person emotionally. I want to be concerned. I want to share love. I want to be able to trust that person. I want to feel secure. Not that the person is responsible for me feeling secure or happy, but that person would definitely add value in that space. And I would do the same for them. I want to see myself becoming my best self because this person has entered into a relationship with me, and the same for them. I want to enhance that person's life. I want to add value. I want that person to feel like their best self. I want that person to explore. And even if we don't always agree, which that is a possibility, I'm sure we never will always agree about everything. But in those areas where there is a disagreement, say it's adult children or some other things that's very sensitive, I think that if you're investing, which relationships are an investment, you have to sacrifice, you have to give, and sometimes it look like it may be an imbalance. But in cases like that where situations arise, I think that two mature adults that are seeking mutually the same thing in a relationship, then that is a discussion that should be had, and it shouldn't be where that's a deal breaker if it's a good investment for the relationship. There will be things that we may not have experienced yet that the other person may have. So some deal breakers you have to reconsider if you think that person is worth the time, because in a relationship at this point in my life, it is definitely an investment. What about finances? That's not something that should be swept under the rug. At this point in our lives, in my 60s plus, I may not be rich, but I am comfortable and I've not retired yet, but I want the person to come where I am financially or above. And even if it's below, it can't be because your lifestyle is not managing your finances well. In debt, great debt, that's a lifestyle. That's something that needs to be worked on before you even want to engage in a relationship with another adult. Because there are some things like deal breakers, like my peace. What kind of lifestyle will we have together? Is my peace being robbed? And my spiritual relationship with God, my faith, and things like that will those are deal breakers. Some things I'm just not willing to tolerate. And the same for that person. I don't expect for that person to raise me. I expect for us to come mutually as mature adults with a history, with other people, with a history of things that just happen. Who are we as a result of that? Are we immature where if there's something you don't agree with, you storming off somewhere with a temper tantrum? At this point in life, for an adult to handle disagreement or disappointment like that, that's something that I'll look at twice. When you're younger, we're looking to present our best self, the glam, the beauty, the tight bodies, this is that. But as we're older, we're bringing our whole story with all of that, and we may not be at that place anymore where you just pop up and looking good. At some point in a mature relationship, we both know as men and women that things happen in your body that you cannot control. Some things you can work out, eat right, get proper rest, manage stress. But some things, a lot of things, you do not have control over. You have to be willing to accept yourself and willing to accept the person, because nobody's perfect and nobody's going to look in their 60s or have the strength or energy level that they had in their 40s and 30s. So we have to be realistic. And so I just want to ask, how important is emotional intelligence for you? Would you date someone with significant health issues? Is physical attraction as important now as it was then? Does the dating apps harm or help mature dating? What about adult children? Do they affect the relationship? Those are some things that I will consider, and I have considered in my relationships, in a healthy relationship. So, as a matter of fact, the reason why I reluctantly did this video, I was thinking, Lord, I'm not an expert in relationships, but one of the viewers inquired about relationships. So I had to do it because if somebody's interested, I'm going to do the best that I can on this end, building our community. There may be some subjects that I may not be familiar with, or I may not have a personal experience, or I may not feel like I'm expert, but everybody knows on this community that I'm not an expert, only in my life. So if you have had some experiences with dating, some hang-ups, some celebratory times, holding hands, going to the movies, going out to dinner, just being treated like the woman that we are, and the men treated like the kings that they are. When you age, becoming a widow or retiring or losing your spouse through divorce or whatever the case may be, it can be very challenging at this stage or at this level in life trying to date. And a lot of people, some people opt to just don't date anymore. They just decided, I'm just going to ride this thing out by myself. Some people are still on the dating scene, and I wish you all well, whatever you've decided. But just let's have this conversation and share some of our experiences on the dating scene after 50. Leave a comment, share your story, or give some advice. Thank you. Give me thumbs up, share, and like. Appreciate you guys.